And we have a lot of these trails that you can get out and explore and see stuff you haven't seen. And if you're into it, meet people you haven't met before. Or just be by yourself in the woods. Just you and your maker. And that's kind of why I'm out here today. A little alone time with Jesus. Been kind of kicking around the idea of doing a video to explain why I'm going to India in October. Because everybody who knows me for the last few years, 8 years, knows how much I love Guatemala, how much I love the people there. I have made a lot of fantastic friends that are more like family, brothers and sisters in Christ. And the climate is absolutely perfect. Out at the lake, it's 75 degrees plus or minus 5 year round. It is. 2 seasons, wet, dry, rainy, dry. Man, it stays 75 degrees year round for the most part. I mean, it'll jump up in the 80s once in a while, and it'll dip into the 60s here and there. But it's absolutely fantastic, and they got mountains, they got volcanoes, they got rivers. Cheap living, but I don't know, last year at this time, my friend Daryl, who's a missionary down there, and who I respect greatly, asked me to go to Yemen, and I said, I don't even know where Yemen's at. You gotta let me look at it and pray about it, and I'll get back to you. So I found Yemen right below Saudi Arabia. I learned Yemen was in the middle of a civil war and going through a famine. And I learned that there are almost no Christians in the country of Yemen. So we prayed, and we reached out to group after group after group. Samaritan's Purse, Red Cross, and I don't even know who all we reached out to as a group of guys looking to go to Yemen. And basically it came down to it was a closed country. And that was probably back in late October or November of last year. So the whole seed was planted with, man, there's a country with no Christians in it. I love Guatemala, and maybe I love Guatemala because Guatemalan culture is very much like our own. Maybe our own 100 years ago. They still live in community. They don't have health insurance and life insurance, unemployment insurance, food pantries. It's like stepping back in time, or at least what I think stepping back in time would be. Where neighbor takes care of neighbor. If my kid's sick and I need help, I ask you for help. And you help because you know when your kid's sick, I'm going to be there to help you. So, anyway. The other thing about Guatemala is, I don't know where I could go in Guatemala that they haven't heard the gospel. I'm not going to say that everybody's a Christian in Guatemala, because they're not. But the gospel's there, very much like our country. I don't know what the percentage is of the American population that professes to be Christian, 70, 60. But where do you go that somebody in America hasn't heard about Jesus, about celebrates it, even if you're not a Christian. You celebrate something around Christmas, and the stories out there. So anyway, October, November of last year, the Yemen thing falls through, and my son, who I hadn't talked to for over 3 years, messages me, and he's in India. And we started talking via messenger. I still haven't really talked to him on a phone, but we're communicating. So I start looking at India. India is a country with 1.2 billion to 1.3 billion people, and 2% Christian. I'm no math major, but I would say roughly 1 billion people in India don't know Jesus. I'm pretty sure with a population of 2%, most of them have never heard of Jesus. So I started looking a little deeper, and there is, I don't remember the numbers, say 6,000 unoriginal people groups in the world, according to the experts. People who have not heard the gospel. And a third of them are in India. India has a lot of religions, a lot of languages, it's a 4,000-year-old culture. And another dead-end road, but why not? I ain't never been down it. It's a 4,000-year-old culture, and they don't know Jesus. So I've been driving these trucks down to Guatemala. We took 3, did one with Mark, did one with Don Gula, and then I did one with Brenda and Caroline. Intention of giving them to the pastors, because we don't speak the language, we don't know the culture. It's a very heavy Mayan culture, and we don't know the language or the culture, but they do, and all they needed was some dependable transportation so that they could go speak, so they can go train pastors and reach out to victims of the volcanoes and go to these small mountain villages and teach kids. And it's been fun watching Pastor Adon and Pastor Lester use their pickups. The first one we took down was stolen. So there's only 2 down there, but even in the stealing it was quite blessed. Part of the adventure. So the idea for India is buy a motorcycle. Give it to a pastor. Motorcycles are, I know they outnumber cars, I'm sure they do. I've watched a few YouTube videos, there are motorcycles everywhere. So that was all going through my mind on this last Guatemala trip. I didn't take a truck down, I just had some playgrounds built, and we fed over 200 families, $50 for food. Maybe not quite that much, some of them we split it in half. Feed more people. So we're down there doing that. This whole thing with India is definitely on my heart. That I needed to reach out and go to India. So I get back from India, or get back from Guatemala, and I'm talking about going and buying this motorcycle that I ride that was made in India. It's a Royal Enfield. About how I want to raise money to buy motorcycles. And I'm talking to just a few people. Going to the coffee shop, which is attached to my church, and John, he says to me, "Hey, you know Josh Fritz?" "Nope, I don't believe." "Well, Josh is from Benton, which is probably, I don't know, 35-minute ride from the house, so he's local." And the day before, he had just gotten back from India. So she started a little Greek message thing back and forth, invited us both to talk, and it took me only about 2 minutes to know I love Josh in his heart. And it took me only about that long as well to know that God had put us together. Because Josh told me the second thing he said to his wife after he got off the airplane, after telling her he loved her, was, I got to get this pastor a motorcycle. He met a pastor over there who basically bummed, hitched, or walked to get to the 3 churches that he was pastoring. And God laid it on his heart to get him a motorcycle. And then here I am, 24 hours after he gets off the airplane, with the same heart. So you can't tell me God didn't line that up. And Josh's backstory is 4 months earlier, in late October or November, I can't remember when he did say, about the same time I was finding out Yemen wasn't going to work and looking at India. Josh was in Oregon to run some kind of tough man race or something with his brother, and he was on a plane home, and he was sitting next to an Indian pastor, and the Indian pastor and him, they got to talking, because Josh is a pastor in training, or maybe he's already got his training done. But Josh was invited to come to India and visit this guy, and I guess we'll turn around here. I don't want to venture. Maybe let's venture out in there to see what's happening. So Josh basically says, no, I've been lined to be a youth pastor at the church. Job's pretty much mine. Just a matter of waiting for all the stuff to get taken care of, and that was his job. And funny thing is, 3 months later, Josh doesn't get this job, and he calls up the pastor because he knows God has put it on his heart to go to India. Ooh, hang on. Woo, baby. So, it's getting a little squishy here. Let me finish this. So, Josh flies to India, and he meets this pastor again, who takes him around to these villages, and this pastor just so happens to be a pastor to pastors in India, and he travels all over the country training pastors, and he knows a bunch of these guys that are walking to their villages, who spend whole days from the break of dawn till after dark, hitching or walking, teaching, and then headed home. And so yeah, I think God lined this whole thing up. A friend already offered up enough money to buy 4 motorcycles. I'm hoping to buy a 5th one. I already bought my plane ticket, so I'm going to India, and I'm going to let God show me what he wants me to do from there. But that pretty much sums up why India and not Guatemala at this point. And I'm going to miss my friends there. God knows I love that country. I love their culture. I love the people more than anything about Guatemala. But for now, I'm headed to India.